Welcome to Around the House, sponsored by Romac Building Supply. I'm your host, Tom Magruder. If you like today's show, go to aroundthehouse.tv where you can sign up for our weekly newsletter and our YouTube channel. In this segment of Around the House, Jinger Wilkins, the owner of Concept Craftsmen Company, is joining me to discuss interior installations of doors and molding as well as exterior doors. Jinger is an expert when it comes to custom door and molding installs. She's installed a lot of molding and doors here in Lake and Sumter County, and she does a tremendous job. I think you can find these tips very interesting and could help you on your next project. So with that, I'd like to introduce Jinger Wilkins, the owner of Concept Craftsmen Company. Jinger, hello, how are you doing today?
Thank you, Don, for having me.
We are so glad to have you here today because I consider you one of the best trim and door people in all of Lake and Sumter County. First, take a few moments and tell us about yourself and Concept Craftsmen Company.
All right, my name is Jinger Wilkins, and I'm the owner of Concept Craftsmen Company. I have been out here since 2010, I would say, on my own. I cater to all base molding, crown molding, chair rail, wainscot, commercial and residential door installs.
And the thing about it, you work for homeowners and contractors.
Yes. Correct.
So the thing about you, you're doing all kind of projects. Your crews are, if someone had a remodel or a new home or even a commercial job, they would call you Concept Craftsman Company, and you'd come out there and tell them what they need and install it.
Absolutely.
What types of doors and molding are you primarily installing residentially, Jinger?
Residential-wise, exteriors, solid cores, pocket doors, barn doors are a big thing these days. Bypass doors are so common. Flat jam, split jam.
And the thing about it, it goes back to this whole concept that we've got so many people who want a different look, don't we? You mentioned barn doors. Barn doors give a house a totally different look, and a lot of people don't know how to install them properly, do they?
Correct. That's right.
What do you see as the most popular interior door being used today?
The most interior popular door would have to be your split jam door with casing. Always a barn door is typical in today's every house with the rail system and guides that come along with it.
Jinger, your group installs a lot of interior doors and trim. What are some of the traits of a good door and molding install?
Function.
Function.
Yep, it closes and opens properly. The seal works. There's no daylight or air coming in and out. It's all about the function of it.
And when you look at moldings, I know a lot of times people claim they know how to install moldings and they don't. How can you tell if a molding's not been installed properly?
With moldings, I would say your inside and outside corners, the reveals that come along with it, the level, if you're doing chair rail, you can always tell by the miters.
Yeah.
And if the caulking's been shoved in there or, for paint.
So realistically, someone who's doing a good interior molding install, very little caulking should be used.
Absolutely.
Let's sort of talk about what's the biggest mistakes you see in people as they install interior and exterior doors.
The biggest mistakes for homeowners choosing, yes, I would say going with a cheaper bid.
Okay.
And just make sure they do their background check, ask for pictures, ask for resources or references. Definitely just getting the background of it, because anybody can walk in and say they can do this and that, and at the end of the day, it's how they perform.
The nice thing about an exterior door is when it's installed properly, it should take one hand to close, one hand to flip a lock, and it shouldn't be dragging. When you see these problems, what causes a door dragging, for example?
Dragging usually is caused by, it could be multiple things. Just a simple longer screw in the top hinge. the weight of an exterior door or a solid wood door over time, it can drag after first trim. The painters, after first trim, remove the door and put it back, so sometimes the hinges didn't go back properly or those screws didn't get tightened. It could just be something as little as that.
And also, a lot of trim installers have forgotten what the term plumb and level means.
Mm-hmm.
Give us your definition of plumb and level.
Plumb and level. Plumb, you want to start with your hinge side, and you want to always think about the drywall that it's receiving. So your jamb you want to hold it in ½ inch to receive that drywall to the best of your ability.
Right.
If the walls are out, you want to play that game. It has to be plumb and level for functionality.
And you just said something interesting there. A lot of people don't realize a lot of times that wall could be out.
Absolutely.
Not perfectly plumb. It could be tilted in or not. And
Correct.
that will throw you no matter how.
It will.
And an experienced trim person understands you have to shim and make sure that door fits that wall, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yep.
All right. We've got some items at the Romac Building Supply Show and Tell desk that will better help explain some of this. So we're going to take a break now, and when we return, we're going to have Jinger Wilkins, the owner of Concept Craftsmen Company, talk to us about some specific items that are involved in interior and exterior door and molding trim, which I think you're going to find fascinating. See you in a moment. Welcome back to Around the House. I'm Don Magruder, and joining me is Jinger Wilkins from Concept Craftsmen Company, and we're about to talk about a few things that you deal with every day.
Yes,
first off, in our last segment, before we came to the show and tell desk, we were talking about doors dragging. Mm-hmm. Tell our viewers why that's an important issue to prevent a door from dragging.
All right, this would illustrate the hinge of a door, and typically we would use a longer screw, such as. And if you put a longer screw in the top hinge, it will suck up the bottom of the door. So put something here, and it sucks up to here.
And the mistake people make, these hinges will initially come in with a smaller screw, and mm-hmm. they'll use those smaller screws and never replace it. And that's why the door will eventually, over time,
yes, sir.
sag.
Yep, the smaller screws, the painters sometimes remove to spray and put back and don't put it back the hinges right or the screws right. So typically you want to tighten those screws first to see if that fixes the problem, and if not, you want to definitely use the longer screw.
So if you're a homeowner and your door's dragging, you want to look at this.
Absolutely.
Now, Jinger, we got a little segment of molding here. We got some moldings that are primed and clear. What's the significance of the prime and clear moldings?
To me, would be mostly here for the painter. Your primed coat won't take more than 2.
Yeah.
To final paint. Your MDF is a little bit different for contracting and expanding in weather, but it's the dents of it. If you hit it with a hammer, it might dent with your MDF. The pine is a more harder wood.
Now we have that's a base, or that's the case in it.
This is a base, 3
base,
1/4
yep.
base.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And we have base.
Or casing, they use it.
And a lot of people are using this base shoe.
Yep. This is something that is done typically these days. Your base is ran before carpet and even hardwood floors. And after the flooring is put down, you come back and put a quarter round or a shoe mold.
Okay. Now, this is a crown mold.
This is a crown mold, and this is a stain grade type. Typically with not primed, we would use an 18 gauge nail, meaning that they were probably going to use this as a stain grade instead of painting it.
And once again, knowing that really determines how well the job comes out. Mm-hmm. Now, this one, Jinger, is probably one of the most popular moldings used around here. What is that, Jinger?
This is a colonial casing. It's standard for most stores.
And again, you can get it in primed or
paint grade. And again, if you use it, you want to use minimal nails and an 18 gauge, which is a smaller nail hole, if you're staining it, because you're not going to putty it.
And then, Jinger, we have.
This is a base mold, an OG top that is used. It's primed, standard as well.
And that's a very popular molding here.
Very popular.
Now, Jinger, one of the biggest issues around here, these are cut pieces, mm-hmm. but let's talk about exterior jambs. Okay. What do we have here?
This is a jamb that goes on your exterior wall for the door to receive, and this is your weather stripping. So once you close the door, this would seal it from, water or bugs, etc. It will get that close seal.
And what a lot of people don't realize, this is a kerf jamb.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a little cut out here, and the molding is made to just slip right in.
Slides it in. Yep. And
Now,
that seals it completely. Once you close the door, this seals anything from coming in.
now, isn't it typical in some cases this is where you also anchored the door behind this molding?
Absolutely. Well, yep. At the bottom through the slab, through a Tapcon, or in the header through a wood screw.
Ginger, this is where a lot of people fail on door installations, isn't it?
Yes.
Not properly putting the Tapcons and the
Tapcons, the
screws.
quad seal for sealant purposes, absolutely.
Ginger, the most important thing, though, people out in the villages and most subdivisions don't realize these can be removed,
Mm-hmm.
and there's also a white one.
Yep.
So if their little dog tears it up, that's easily fixed.
Very easy. Yep.
Isn't one of the problems, so sometimes the painters get the paint too heavy?
Absolutely.
And
that's one of the main problems.
Yeah.
with the paint. Yep.
The next time we got to show, what is this, Ginger?
That is brick mold. It's applied to the exterior side of a exterior door.
And this is a synthetic poly brick mold.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, this jamb is also synthetic.
Mm-hmm.
The nice thing about those is no rot problem.
No rot.
Do you recommend that people go to these types of?
Absolutely.
It's the cost is what, $9 or $10 more?
The cost doesn't even come into a play when you come against something that doesn't rot towards rot. This is a standard thing that's used a lot nowadays, and you just can't go wrong with it.
And then the last thing is the threshold. This is probably one of the most popular thresholds being used in the area. Mm-hmm. Tell us about this threshold, Ginger.
Threshold is very important for an entry door of any sort, in-swing or out-swing. The threshold will come differently. It's a must.
And the nice thing, this is an adjustable.
This is an adjustable, so if you have a retrofit, meaning if you're tearing out a door and reinstalling something different with what you're already dealing with that's existing as far as the walls or slab, it's adjustable. So you have that area to play
and
with.
how they're installed and sealed will determine if you're going to get water in your house.
Absolutely. It's a big deal, yes.
Now, Ginger, if someone were listening today and they needed interior doors or trim or exterior door mold and replace, first off, they would call you at what number to get a bid?
They can call me at 352-455-8471, and they will always deal with me directly.
Okay. So you'll come out there or look at their plans and determine what they'll need. How long does it generally take for you to get on a project?
For a project, after we get through the quoting, we're usually 4 to 6 weeks out, typically.
Because you're busy now.
Very busy. But, your lighter jobs that only take a day or two, those can be worked in every week.
Okay. And any charge for giving a quote?
No quote. Yeah.
Okay. Jinger Wilkins from Concept Craftsmen Company, thank you for being here. We've learned a lot from you. And thank you for watching Around the House today. Be sure to go to aroundthehouse.tv where you can sign up for our YouTube channel and our weekly newsletter. Until next time, we will see you around the house.